longer than that.
Yeah, and he seemed to be carving a wee niche for himself in special teams, especially on at the PK last year, Jennifer. A guy you're glad to have seen back. I mean, it kind of would be unthinkable now without Matt Haywood in the team, isn't it?
Yeah, it would feel unusual, and obviously between him and Mackenzie, like they were like top power killing unit last year, and also Jennifer and Matt got engaged while they were away on holiday, so just congratulations to them from the Purple Army podcast as well.
Congratulations. Graham, just coming to you, briefly, Matt Haywood is Mr. Clan.
He is Mr. Clan. He's certainly the one who's best qualified for that particular title. And yeah, again, delighted to have him back. I think because he's a Clan player, he's underrated overall in terms of where perhaps other people in the league see him. But Clan fans know how dependable he is. He is Mr. Consistent. He's always going to bring in what 20 odd points. And maybe we might see a bit of an increase in that this season. We don't know how it's going to work out under the new coach, but if he gets the ice time, he doesn't let anybody down. So yeah, delighted to have him back.
It'd be nice to see. I'm not complaining about Matty's playing on that, but it'd be nice to see him just maybe take an extra step forward, maybe contributing a wee bit more. I mean, it depends what role he's asked to play, though, isn't it? Saying last year he was kind of getting a lot of time in the PK, but I don't know if you just feel he's got that other step to take just to get up to that next level, and maybe with the new coach, maybe that's something that we can maybe see happening. Obviously, Matt Haywood's number 11, and there will be no other players holding number 11 for the Clan because he's kept it for himself for the last 7, now going on to 8 seasons. So there we go. Next guy that we've got to talk about. And it was the kind of first import that we've had signed, and it's Ryan Nye, a guy who was playing with John Tripp last year at Ice Paraton Crimmishow. There's been some noises about this guy, but you've got to trust the coach's judgment. He would not be bringing Ryan over if he didn't think he could do a job, Graham.
Yeah, this is something that obviously we talked about with Brooksy, as everybody will have heard. But I think for me, the fact that Tripper got him on board almost straight away, and it literally was almost straight away, I took that to be a big, strong positive. I mean, we don't know. We have to assume that the D in this team was probably fairly horrendous given where they finished up in the league. I think Tripper's quoted as saying that they probably would have been relegated had it not been for an eye. So that's a pretty strong recommendation from that point of view. But yeah, I just think the fact that he didn't hesitate in getting him on board. Brooksy obviously says good things about him on the basis of the conversations that he's had with Tripper. So look, there's no guarantees, but again, I think we're going to be saying this about all, or maybe most, or maybe all of our imports. This guy could be a real find from our point of view. And if expectations are, I wouldn't say low, but let's just say there's a lot of people needing to be convinced, then fair enough. But Tripper's nailed his colours to the mast fairly early on by bringing this guy in, because you could argue that the goalie's maybe probably the most important signing of all in terms of individuals in the team. So he's gone and done that very, very early on, so I take that as a big positive.
Yeah, and he's a bigger body than Mikael was last year. Jennifer, 6'1", 165 pounds. He's 32 years of age. A lot of people would say that's when the goalies are kind of getting to the peak of their powers. So his stats last year were similar to Mikael Zajkowski's, but in my opinion in a better league. So I mean, stats aren't everything. You could argue as well that Mikael didn't have a great defence in front of him last year. So, what's your reading on Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously Tripp had already mentioned it in his interview. If a guy's facing 52 shots in a game, then there is some problems. But the fact that the guy can deal with 52 shots in the game can only be a good thing. So, I need to be very positive, obviously, because it's the one guy that Tripper has brought with him from his own team, and it happened very, very quickly, as has already been said. So he's clearly somebody that the coach likes and the coach think can do a good job, and that's good enough for me.
Yep, and Stephen, I take it you're just doing it difficult. You were talking about guys we've never really met, we've never really seen, don't really know much about. People can put up videos on YouTube, but they don't tell you that lot. And we're on here talking about it, and we always put the proviso on. We're doing it with very limited information, as limited as anybody else has got. But I take it you can only echo the sentiments that you've got to trust the coach.
Yeah, well, you need to in this situation. You can look at videos or elite prospects and make your own judgment. But that, like, the highlights videos aren't going to show the whole game or all that the goalie can do. And obviously someone who's worked with them, like the coach, will have seen this in practice as well as games and be able to make a better judgment than anyone can on stats and video alone, you know. So I've been saying since he signed that I'm not going to say he's going to be the best goalie we've ever had or anything, but based on what we can see just now, we need to give all these players some game time to see how they fit in and how they perform before everyone starts writing them off. And there has been a few people that have written them off already, which is madness. You know, I wonder why they even bother supporting the team to begin with.
But every support has that element of negativity, though. I mean, we can be negative, but, you know, we try to be on the positive side of things. And I don't know how you can be completely negative about somebody you've never seen play. I just don't get it.
That's what I'm saying as well. I'm nobody's going to be shocked by this revelation, but I'm quite a negative guy. But even like looking at this, you know, it's daft. Just give the guy a chance. You know, he might be fantastic, he might be crap, but at least let him have a chance to show what he is before you completely write him off.
Here's a top tip for you, Stephen.
Yeah.
See, when you go for your Bray Hearts interview, don't tell them you're a negative person.
I'll try not to. But, you know, it's even dafter to write them off because we've got 2 Brit defensemen so far, you know. So, like, you don't know how the defence in front of them is going to shape up. If we've got a team of, you know, Dan, what's his name, Dan Nicholas and Matt Hansen's, and we're going to be in a lot of trouble regardless of who the goalie is. But, you know, hopefully we'll get a few good D-men and we'll be able to see how we're going to shape up that way.
Well, that's the big thing, isn't it? A goalie's only as good as the team in front of him. So, you know, how you can castigate, I don't know if that's the right word, a guy for his stats in Dale 2 and a team that finished near the bottom of the table and were fighting for their life, I just don't get it. Anyway, not moving on, because there is another player who's wore number 35, and Ryan decided to wear number 35. I think his favourite player was Tom Barrasso, a goaltender in the NHL, played for a few different teams, and that's where Ryan gets his number from. There is one other player who's worn number 35 for the Clan, so that's
now this is the thing that brings me despair when it comes to this.
No clues. So yeah, that's us get 3. I think there might be 5 actually in total, that I remember. Moving on swiftly to the last say hello and welcome to Jacob or Jake Doty. This guy seems to be a power forward type, kind of disruptor type player. Not a great deal of points in his history, but you know that seems to be the kind of person he's going to be. The kind of like. Whether he's going to be the only one or not remains to be seen, but he certainly seems to be a replacement at the moment for the J. Rosehill type role, doesn't he, Graham?
He does. We've Steve and I had the luxury of speaking to Brooksy after the interview, talking about a few things, and Doty obviously was one of the subjects that we got into, and Brooksy was waxing lyrical about him in terms of what this guy can do through Brooksy's own contacts. Bear in mind it was Tripper's sign up, but through Brooksy's contacts, he's heard good things. So from that point of view, yeah, I think he might not be the only. He might not be the only real strong physical presence on the ice, but this kid will drop the gloves with anybody, and I think he could be a real exciting player to watch. I don't think he's going to score a lot of points for us. It's not really what he's there to do, but at the same time, he was described as not being a liability either. You know, he'll do what's required, so we won't get bullied off the ice. We weren't last season, we won't be this season, especially with guys like this around. You'll be there to do a job, and Tripper seems to be quite clear in terms of what that job's going to be. So, yeah, again, one of these ones that could be anything, one of these signs that could be anything, as I'm sure we'll be seeing about a lot of the imports, but certainly having spoken to Brooksy about him, I'm pretty excited to see what this kid can do.
Yep, 6'3", 220 pounds, 24 years old, Jennifer. It's kind of a lot of younger players we brought over, like, so I'm thinking of Nathan Moon, for example, maybe struggled to settle, but it's nice to see us getting some players who maybe are a bit hungrier with something to prove, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, he's not established, so he'll be looking to go out and make a name for himself. But yeah, no, he's a very, very, very big body. nice, young, hungry, and I hope there'll be more players like that in the team.
Yeah, and I mean, he spent a couple of years there with the Chicago Bulls between them and the Mavericks before he came to us, and they've always been one of the top teams in the AHL as well. So in the St. Louis organisation, no, he's no mug, is he, Stephen?
No, and as Graham said, his interview that Jacob did with Craig Anderson just after he signed, where he said that he doesn't take a lot of minor penalties, he doesn't get involved in any sort of nonsense with that, and that's been a problem with our tough guys over the years. Fitzy and Frank like to take dumb penalties, and even we didn't really last year, now that I think about it, but just having someone who's a steady presence like that, who can police the ice without getting drawn into too much silliness, we'll just say, is something that will be a big positive this season, especially with the amount of tougher guys that are coming to the league for other teams as well.
In keeping with their competition, Jake Doughty is going to be wearing number 28. 2 other players have worn number 28 for the Clan. That gives us a 5. So, just quickly recapping. 1 player, apart from Brendan Brooks, that's worn number 49, if you can give us that. 1 player, apart from Ryan Nye, who'll be wearing number 35 next year. 1 player, apart from Rusty, who's wearing number 1. And 2 players at number 28. So, 5 players for the competition to win one of the NHL jerseys we've got. And that's the last of the signings we've got. Now, you know what's going to happen. This programme will go out tonight, Monday night, and first thing tomorrow they'll probably announce a signing that we'll miss. That's just the way it goes. But, crikey, the way things are going, if we're right and we're going to be getting 2 signings a week on average for the next 5 weeks, it won't be a couple of weeks before we'll be back talking again. Time to wave goodbye to some people. The first one we're going to wave goodbye to is away to the Manchester Clan, Mike Hammond. Was it a surprise that he was going? I mean, bit of a gamble for me by Ryan. We don't know what what his knee is, what his recovery is. We don't know any of that. And I think you'd assume that they would have done their due diligence. He certainly was a player, Graham, that came from nowhere and provided. A lot of people would say that was the reason we couldn't get past Dundee, was because we lost Hammond.
Yeah, well, there's no doubt. We talked about this at length as the season was closing, about the fact that Hammond's loss had a big effect on us. And I would argue that after New Year, he was probably our best player, certainly our best forward. Just at the point when Pitt and Becker were perhaps not firing on all cylinders as they had been, Hammond kept that line alive, and the improvement in his play was quite something to see. So, yeah, it was a big loss for us. Bit of a gamble. I mean, you can't really talk about the money side of it too much, but there's no doubt he came in as a bit of a budget stopgap. He had been well recommended, and we were waxing lyrical about him more or less as soon as he stepped on the ice. So he was a find, you have to say, last season. I'm sure from Ryan's point of view, it's going to be a case of provided he's fully recovered from injury, if he can produce that form straight off the bat, then that's going to be good news for the Storm. So I liked him as a player, and I think he's got a lot to offer, and he clearly seems to have enjoyed working under Finner to the extent that he's come back to the Storm. So it's good to keep him in the league, see how he performs, and I think he'll do a job for them if he's fully recovered.
Yeah, the thing for me as well, though, not having that. Okay, it's our job. We're Clan fans. We're going to be optimistic and positive about our signings, and the ones that get away, it's hard not to try and look at the kind of darker side and try and justify for different reasons. But the one thing I would say, another reason, you could maybe have a not slight knock in Mike Hammond, is he didn't really produce till he got. He was producing, but it was certainly about the clip of about with 0.6, 0.7 points per game until he went on to the line with Pitt and Becker. That's when he exploded, Jennifer. So, you've got to worry, was it Pitt and Becker that were making him look better than he was, or was he genuine? I mean, he obviously has skills, we're not saying that, but, would that be a concern for you, getting him in with line mates that can actually get the puck to him?
Well, I mean, any sort of like hockey line, it is all about synergism, and there's certainly no denying that. Even like when it was like just Pitt and Becca at the beginning of the season, they were going through quite a few different players before they actually found that third player that clicked. Although the relationship between Pitt and Becca was wonderful, they couldn't get that final loop in the line. So I don't doubt for a second that that Hammond will produce the goods. But as has already been said, it's down to the injury, because from what the rumours have said,